Before we get into today's video, I just want to say thank you to our Patreons. Your support helps the channel and helps fund the giveaways on the channel. If you're interested in becoming one, link down below. But without further ado, guys, let's jump right into it. So, Tiana. This is a card that I have always really enjoyed, and, well, depending on your local scene, she might be a very strong card to play. Today, we're going to talk about a green steel aggro variant, kind of a damage aggro Tiana in green, if you will. So some highlighted cards we want to talk about. You have things like your Merfolk and your Flynn Rider for your early questing power to set the tempo of the game. You then get to transition into things like Baboom and Smash to make sure your opponent cannot build up a board to respond to your cards. Then you go into your final phase with your Tiana and get her down on the field so your opponent's action cards all of a sudden cannot be used. Her 4 willpower, quests for 2, resist 2 can be quite the problem for some decks. So let's see that total deck list. Here we are. 189 is the total deck cost, 11 unequal cards. Out of that 189, you guessed it, Robin Hood does account for nearly the entire thing, like 140 of that. This is like a $50 deck without him. This deck is dirt cheap. So anyway, we're playing 4 Merfolk, 4 Robin Hoods as our 1-drop cards. Again, we're getting aggressive, and just Robin Hood is too strong. If you're playing Steel, you're playing Robin Hood. Flynn Rider coming in our 2-drop spot, with Ursula also to be able to see your opponent's hand, gain that knowledge, and discard a potential song out of their hand. Your Kita is a bodyguard, so like Baboom and Smash, she can also help your Flynn and your Merfolk stay on board a little bit longer. Because we did want some draw power and more aggro, we do have our Huntsman in there. He's only a 1/1, but he is inkable, and every time he quests for 2, you get to draw a card, and then you just have to discard a card, so you can fix your hands. This also helps with Tiana. I think playing him in tandem with Tiana is very good, because if you're loaded up on uninkable cards, he helps them get out of your hand. And then Mr. Smee is a 3/3. He does self-harm himself, but he quests for 2, and he sticks around for a little bit, and if your opponent challenges him, they're taking 3 damage and probably losing their character. Going into our 3 drops, we're playing a couple Cheshire Cats because, again, if your opponent wants to challenge him, they're going to lose their card, and he quests for a couple. Playing 3 Kit Cloud Kicker, bouncing that Ursula always feels really strong. Bouncing that Ariel, well, sometimes it's needed, but it doesn't feel very strong. However, again, you want to keep things like Grab Your Swords, the Along Came Zeus, and other cards like that out of play a little bit longer. In addition, with Sapphire Steel Resist, you can hit things like Belle, the strange but beautiful, strange but wonderful. I really cannot think right now. I do apologize for that. We've been having a really fun day Sunday. But anyway, hitting things like the Belle, because she's going to quest for 5, also helpful. Benja. He gets rid of the items. Item decks are very prevalent right now, whether it's a flute, a lantern, full-on red-blue, or steel resist. Benja puts in work, and he quests for 2. So again, I really like him at 4 because he's inkable too. So even if he's not good in the matchup and you don't need the aggro, he's inkable. For our bodyguards, we're playing a couple Hercules and then 4 princes. Prince with his resist 1, questing for 2. Again, just fits the aggro theme we're going for. Testing it out, and I was like, it works. This is probably the most flexible card in the deck, but Daisy Duck is a 2/, because she quests for 2, and when she does, she also attacks your opponent's hand and makes them discard a card. 4 Tiana Celebrating Princess. Well, when she's exerted and you have no hand, her 4 willpower resist 2 is very tough to deal with, because your opponent cannot use action cards. That includes singing an action. Even though you're not hard playing it, singing it is still playing it. And then lastly, the Robin Hood. So again, 160 of this deck is Robin Hood. The deck is $30 outside of Robin Hood. That is insane. This deck is cheap. Play something else other than Robin Hood. Actually, don't. Robin Hood's too good. Fire the Cannons. Maybe we'll do a Robin Hood giveaway next month. Stay tuned for that. first Friday of every month, we do channel giveaways for subscribers and Patreons. Maybe we'll do something with Robin Hoods as our giveaway for next month. We're playing one Robin Hood. No, we're playing 4 Robin Hood, 1 Fire the Cannon, 2 Booms, and 4 Smashes. Again, keeping our opponent's board off the board. The Fire the Cannon's also working nice to take out things like Cinderella Ballroom Sensation, so they can't sing those pesky 3-cost songs like Raging Fire and Let the Storm Rage On. Lastly, 2 Along Came Zeus. So Ursula doesn't really hurt us too bad. The Bare Necessities can, because we are playing 9 non-characters. However, we're not really relying too much on them. They're just kind of damage and board control, because we wanted more characters and we wanted to be low on our uninkables, because if you can get Tiana out, you're in a pretty good spot. Obviously, things like Madame Medusa, Maui handle her pretty well, so if your locals is packed full of Ruby Amethyst, well, maybe it's not the deck for you. Maybe take out the Tiana and slightly change some things. However, if yours is like mine and it's full of steel decks, well, maybe Tiana Aggro is a good call. So we said Ruby Amethyst, right? Where do we start here? I don't think there's a whole lot to say. Maui and Madame Medusa really cause issues, so you want to try to get ahead quick. You want to try to get multiple Tianas down if possible, because those cards are just going to handle her really, really well. I do think this is a less favorable matchup. Where would I place this deck? I think it's a good rogue deck. I do. I think aggro decks in general are typically rogue, and I've always been a rogue player in Yu-Gi-Oh! And I have way more fun with it, and it's just more satisfying when you win with them. However, as pretty much any TCG and format goes, rogue decks ride the waves of the format. They'll be really good at certain points and really bad at certain points, and if you time it out properly, you can take a deck like this, take down a big event, and never look back. Like I said, Maui and Madame Medusa being your 2 biggest issues in this deck. Looking at Steel Song. So we've kind of mentioned it in other ones. Your Tiana takes out the spells, takes out these songs. One of these times I'll stop calling them spells. Your Tiana takes out the song aspect, so it's kind of, what do you have to look out for? The Queen, because the +4/-4 lets them get rid of yours a little quicker. The Aerial early, before you get your Tiana down. Smash handles both those cards really well. Beast Tragic Hero, if they get damage on it, it's going to have 7 attack, so he can take out your Tiana pretty quickly. So try to make it where if they're going to get damage on the Beast, you might have to go ahead and take that Beast out quick before they get the +4 damage on their turn. Cinderella Stout-Hearted kind of again too. It's just, you got to look out for these powerhouse cards, but if you can get your engine rolling early, you shouldn't have to worry about it too much. Amethyst Emerald Bounce. So tempo. What do we do here? I mean, you kind of shut down the Ursula line. Your turn later, though. 2 turns by the time you exert her. Smash, Kick Cloud Kicker. Both those cards. That's 7 ways that we out the Ursula, or at least slow her down, which can allow you to get your Tiana out first. And if you get your Tiana out first, you turn off the Friends and the Mother Knows Best. So both of that is very, very good. Do keep in mind, Kick Cloud Kicker can bounce your Tiana, so be aware of that. It's going to happen at some point or another. And other than that, just using like your cannons, your babooms to take out the Flins and the merfolks, so you don't have to discard your cards in the process. And then against the blue-red deck. There's not too much here other than the Ruby engine that worries me. Again, it's that Maui, Medusa, Scar, them high-end red cards that just handle Tiana really, really well. However, if you can pace yourself quick and get up early, especially with Benja to keep their items down so they don't get to draw as much and they can't just ramp as fast with the Fishborn Quill, that's going to help you out a lot. So, I mean, it's so hard to beat this deck before they get into that like 5, 6, 7 range, because they do it by turn 5. So just keeping an eye on that. It's pretty much that Maui, that Madame Medusa, the Scars, those types of cards that you really got to look out for. Even Hades, which Hades is seeing a lot less play as of late, so you shouldn't have to worry about him too much. Even Scar's starting to fall off a bit, but Medusa and Maui are seeing a lot of play, and those two cards just cause issues for this deck. However, I think this matchup is definitely very winnable. So, we got some replays. Just like our last video, we get mirror matches because that's how it goes. However, for some reason, I feel like this probably isn't actually a mirror match, just the same colors. So we have double Huntsman, Smash, Kita, Merfolk, Tiana, and Prince. We also get to go first. So 2 uninkable cards. We got turn 1, we got Bodyguard, we got turn 2, we got Ink, we got Tiana. I actually like this hand. I don't see any reason to get rid of anything. We have Smash with removal, we have Bodyguards, like I said, Ink. We have discard outlets from the Huntsman to keep our Tiana alive and on board. Let's go ahead, ink a Huntsman, play our Merfolk, pass turn. Wait to see what our opponent does. He inks a Tink and comes back with a Merfolk. So now we know we're free to quest this turn and we draw into one of our Smee. I'm like, well, I already like my hand, so I'm going to get rid of that and play a Smee because he's a multi-quester, and with the 3, he can take out threats of our opponents. Quest for 2, he inks a Sad Beast. Plays an Ursula, gets to see our hand, he sees what's coming, and, well, he doesn't get to take anything out, so that always feels good. And then he quests with his Curse Merfolk. We do have a Smash that we could potentially take out the Merfolk as well. We're going to go quest, get rid of him because, well, we're trying to dump our hand at this point, so we can double up with the Kita and the Robin Hood. And now, next turn, we could go ahead and play our Tiana. And then the following turn is when our hand will be empty and she'll be exerted, so we'll have the Tiana lock in effect. I do kind of want to mess with the Amber Steel Tiana aggro, just because of things like Pluto now and Doc. I mean, Doc, by the time you get him out, it's not really a turn early, but Pluto to get Tiana out earlier. Lantern technically can, but I just think Pluto's better. Waiting to see. What is our opponent going to do? He does use a Baboom on our Merfolk, so that's a pretty good play. Gets rid of it. We happen to draw into another Merfolk. So we're going to actually get rid of our Smash here. Since we're dumping our hand anyway, challenging the Merfolk isn't going to be hard. Because, well, we're not going to have a hand soon, so it's not going to matter. There's no point in challenging there because, again, we want to keep our Merfolk in hand so we can play it next turn. If he wants to go and crash his Ursula into our Smee, I'm okay with that. If he has a different way to deal with it, again, I guess I'm okay with that. But he actually, or not actually, he has to go after our Bodyguard and then uses the Baboom on Kita as well. So still 2 more ink to see what he can do, and he comes down with another Ursula. Sees our last card in hand, and we just happen to draw into a 3 or lower cost, which, I mean, you saw the breakdown earlier, we're playing a lot of them. So we get to come back with both, which puts 4 more questing power on board. We have no hand, so we can take out the Merfolk. Smee's going to be gone anyway. We're in a good enough spot that I felt like I could quest here, or I could choose not to, but then he has more cards to take mine out. Like we may lose our Robin Hood. So we're at 12, threatening 7 more. And our opponent is just way behind in advantage. And even with his Ursula here, she still can't sing songs because of our Tiana. And he has no way to remove Tiana at this moment. So we're sitting in a very, very strong spot because, well, we top deck into the best card in our deck. And now we can go ahead and win this turn. But even if we didn't do that, we could go ahead and still quest and get up to 19. And then what is he going to do? There's no way he could take out the Tiana and we would win. So going first against Ruby Amethyst. Let's see what we decide to go ahead and ink, and then we'll talk about. We have Benja, Huntsman, Robin Hood, Huntsman, along came Zeus, Hercules, and our Daisy Duck. I want to keep a Bodyguard here for things like Mim Fox, and Hercules is really good there. as opposed to Prince, because Hercules will take out the Fox as well. Typically, I like to go aggro, but 3 and 4 cost cards aren't necessarily aggro enough in this matchup. I want to try to get to that early Robin Hood, and we keep the Along Came Zeus to deal with like a Maui before he gets to take out multiple of our cards. We do hit another Benja and a Huntsman, typical, and then we hit 2 more uninkable cards. So no 1-drops and a lot of uninkable cards in our hand, so that's pretty unfortunate. Our opponent comes down with a Pascal, and we draw into an Ursula. We're going to get rid of the Ursula because, well, we're just going to have to take something and deal with it. And then we put down our Huntsman so we can at least draw and try to start fixing our hand if he survives. Pascal quests, which he's probably going to come down with another character in order to give his Pascal evasive. So just waiting. We see Maleficent get inked, and then, in fact, LeFou does come down. So when I see LeFou, I think it's Ruby Amethyst aggro, because that's what they do. They, like, their Maleficent biding her time, their new Simba from the newest set, and, of course, we draw into a third Along Came Zeus, which actually hurts because, 1, it's uninkable, 2, we have 2 copies, and 3, sometimes you want to see that card later in the game. I did end up cutting it to 2, so if you're wondering why there's 3 in this video and 2 in the profile earlier, that is why. Then we come down with our Hercules. But yeah, seeing the LeFou definitely tips me off that it's Ruby Amethyst aggro, so it changes it up a little bit. So I'm like, okay, he's probably on less Medusas because it's uninkable. Like, he's probably playing 2 still. Maybe even less Be Prepareds potentially, or just not playing things like Lady Tremaine altogether. And there you just saw, like I said, we trade even with the Mim Fox, which is something we really want to do. We're going to ink our other Huntsman and then play our Tiana. So we're getting close to that point where we can get the lock-in effect. What does the lock do in this matchup? Not a whole lot. He's got friends on the other side and Be Prepared, however, that we can turn off. But again, getting rid of, or going into that aggro means some more uninkable cards early, so you have to get rid of those back-end uninkable cards like the Lady T, like the Medusa. And we see RLS Legacy come down, actually. So I was like, okay, so he's really probably not playing much for Medusas and those bigger cards. We go ahead, we play our Benja and our Robin Hood, and then we pass turn after thinking about using our Along Came Zeus. We do have our other Robin Hood that we can go ahead and shift, and we can still sing, and then we can also ink a card. So unless we draw into an uninkable card, our Tiana lock should be live next turn. Our opponent plays Queen's Castle, inks a snake, and then moves LeFou to Queen's Castle. So it's actually looking like a good thing that we held on to our Along Came Zeus. We draw into another Tiana, so we're not going to get the Tiana lock-in effect. However, I'm not too worried about it. This time we are going to sing the Along Came Zeus because I don't want him to draw that extra card. So we're going to use it on the Queen's Castle, and then Benja's going to finish it off, and Robin Hood will put 3 damage onto RLS Legacy. He will get the 2 lore from it, and he comes down with Maui. He goes after our Robin Hood, which at least gives us a draw into a Daisy Duck. And here I'm kind of in a dilemma because Maui will take out Tiana. I do have a second Tiana. However, she's very strong, and I don't want to necessarily lose them. Like I said, Maui can be a pain here. However, we're at least in a decent spot. We draw into a Kita, which works out really nice because it forces the Maui to take out the Kita. So we can put 2 more damage on the RLS, so next turn we can take it out if we need to. And the Kita protects our Tiana and our Benja, which means Maui has to attack the Kita. And unless he, say, bounced it and saved it for next turn or came back down with it, we're in a good spot. But that's just a risk we had to take. So he does have to take it out. Again, the Reckless means he has to challenge. Our Kita trades with it very nicely. Maleficent comes down, draw a card, waiting to see what he does, and then Arthur comes down. So again, definitely very aggro. And at this point, I'm like, there's no Medusa, there's no Lady Tremaines, he can't be playing these high-end cards, and there's actually a good chance that he's not playing Be Prepared either. So I'm just counting over and looking at it. I was like, I have to get rid of that. There's just no way around it. Now we can spam out as much as we can. And unfortunately, he's going to go to 12 to 8. He can quest, and then bounce. So he can actually go all the way up to 16 with Maleficent, 3 more, and 6 ink. So we're kind of in a poor spot, but things aren't necessarily hopeless yet. If he quests with the Arthur just like that, you could say Robin Hood and Tiana to take out Arthur, Benja and Tiana to take out RLS. So as long as he doesn't put down 4 more ink worth, or 4 more, I can't even think right now, 4 more lore worth of characters, we can at least take out his board. We may have to draw into one of our removal cards to deal with readied characters. So Pua comes down, and then also Maleficent, which gets him another draw. So he's for sure, like I said, we can take out his board. He inks the crab, so that's actually kind of nice. And we draw into, once again, our friend from Sherwood, Robin Hood, who now he can take down the Arthur on his own, and we gain the 2 lore in the process. So now we actually have hope again. Benja and Tiana work together to take out the legacy, so that way, again, our opponent can only go to 19. Only. So our opponent can go to 19. However, we're also threatening game, so he has to take out one of our cards. Unless he can deal 5 or 6, he's not touching anything other than Benja. So essentially here, Pua can quest to 18, Maleficent take out Benja, and then put down 2 more lore. Rabbit comes down, we draw a card, we still have 3 ink left. All you have to do is put down 1 more card, and you're good. 1 more card and you're good. That's all you have to do. So, sitting here, really getting like antsy. I'm like, okay, is he going to do it? He's got 3 ink. He has to be able to play. I'm like, okay, castle's gone. Like, that means he has 2 uninkable cards. If he had an inkable card, he would have inked it and played castle. It's like the Tiana lock just won us this game. Because now we're going to go ahead and get 2 more there. So we go up. 18-14. Deciding if he wants to use Pua. Quest. So it's 18-18. And we can play our Champion of Sherwood. And it's essentially, does he have GOAT? Can he get to GOAT? If the answer is yes, he wins the game. If the answer is no, we win the game. So it all comes down to this. Is GOAT in his hand? It is not. He gets a draw off the rabbit. So now, does he have GOAT plus a bounce card? Because you play the GOAT, you play a snake or a fox, the well played comes out. So we see he does not. So that's it for the replays on this one, guys. Thanks for watching. Until next time, like, share, subscribe, comment down below, and let me know what other decks would you like to see. Thanks for watching, guys.